Unlock the secrets of franchising success with the Franchise Life podcast. Hosted by Stacie Shannon. Join us for expert insights, success stories, and practical tips every week. Subscribe now and take your franchise journey to the next level.
Hello and welcome to the Franchise Life. Today I have Will Siegel from the Repum Group, who oversees franchise development for Second Family. Welcome, Will.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. All right. So, Will, there are many different in-home healthcare franchise concepts out there. So, not telling you anything you don't already know, but really, let's just start with what Second Family is and how it is set apart from other brands.
Yeah, totally. So we are a non-medical home healthcare company, right? We didn't reinvent the wheel when it came to non-medical home healthcare, but we have spun a little bit of something different when it comes to our systems, our processes, and our technology to allow for just ease of information, ease of growth, and just ease of utilization for our customers' standpoint. So a couple of things that really set us apart, instead of traditional senior care where kind of the business development, you find yourself a client, then you have to search for a caregiver and then you place them together. We run our business more like a staffing model. So you're going to create a large bench of W-2 flex time employees. That means that when the moment we get a phone call saying that we need care for our loved one, we can immediately pivot and place one of those caregivers that are already pre-vetted in our system with those clients to help really get them amazing care very quickly. A second thing, we use RNs. So we are an RN or a nurse managed care system. And that RN is going to do initial assessments to make sure that we're going above and beyond to provide really awesome care, but also so that we can refer in people like OTs or PTs or maybe hospice or DME companies to be able to support those individuals to help keep them at home more comfortable and more safely for the long haul.
So the RN, if I understand correctly, they're going to do that initial assessment. And after that, then it would be a caregiver that is overseeing the patient's care in whatever specialty is required. Is that correct?
So that caregiver, so we're going to work with the caregivers are going to be directly giving the care in the home, but that RN is going to be managing a portfolio of somewhere between 5 to 20 clients, just so that they can always keep on top of making sure that we're providing not only the quality care in-house, but also we're referring in who needs to come in to support that individual, right? Maybe you've got some mobility issues. That RN is going to notice that and going to call in maybe some PT or OT to be able to support that individual to keep them more comfortable and active at home.
Got it. So who is the main point of contact to the client?
Yep. So because we want our franchisees to be owner operator, we really love when they're boots on the ground, the face of the business. Most of our customers are going to be the adult children of the seniors that we're providing care for, right? And it's not, 1945 anymore. We don't live 2 doors down from our loved ones. Usually we're across the country, across the world. So a lot of times that biz dev role or the franchisee is going to meet the family. But once they decide they're going to move forward with Second Family's care or Always Family's care, then that RN is going to come out, do that initial assessment, and then they're going to manage the care for you with the caregivers and then do a reassessment every 60 to 90 days to make sure that we're continuously bringing to the home, bringing to that loved one exactly what they need to keep them safe.
All right. So let's just take a quick step back. Second Family was established in 2012, started first franchising in 2020. Currently, you have one corporate location and you've awarded over 20 franchise locations today. So that's pretty impressive. And I know that the Repum Group just, I'd say within the past year or so, took on Second Family franchise development. Is that accurate?
Yeah, we've been in the development role for coming on maybe 7 months now, but the growth kind of standard and the growth plans. Q1 of 2025 was really when we started doing the majority of our work and added on about 16 different territories just in Q1. But so it's awesome. The nice thing is credentialing and licensing for senior care is usually somewhere sub 6 months. So we'll see all of those franchisees that signed on in Q1. Traditionally, they're going to be open and helping families in their communities by the end of the year, most likely much before that.
That's fantastic. So you mentioned a term, flex W-2 employees. So really, what does that mean? Are they essentially hired as part-time? Are there some that want to work full-time hours? What does flex W-2 really mean?
Yeah, so flex time really allows us to bring these caregivers into our system, but allow them to kind of determine how much or how little they'd like to work, right? We kind of call it the Uberization of home healthcare, because the way that our technology works is we bring in a new client, we're then going to open up their schedule to what they need, and then the caregivers alternatively get to choose if they want to pick up or not pick up that slot with that loved one. Now, the truth is everybody wants some regularity in their schedule. So we work very hard to get, regular caregivers working with those clients. But the truth of the matter is no situation is going to be covered 24/7, 365 by one person. So we really work to get an awesome bank of wonderful caregivers. That way, no matter what happens, no matter if we have a call out, no matter if you have to add 6 hours on Saturday that we didn't expect, we'll be able to utilize our bench of caregivers to be able to cover that shift to make sure that those loved ones are taken care of.
So this space by nature, I already mentioned there's a lot of different in-home care, health care brands out there. By nature, it's going to be fairly competitive. With that said, I mean, your customer base is plentiful, and that is only going to continue to grow. So on that note, what type of marketing strategies, lead gen strategies does Second Gen employ, both from securing your clients and caregivers?
Yeah, absolutely. So, in my opinion, if technology is not helping you, it's hurting you, right? So, we've got unbelievable technology platforms that help keep our caregivers working with us as much as they would like to, right? The truth is, everybody says that there's a caregiver shortage out there in the country. But the truth is, there's just a poor breakdown of how companies are finding their caregivers. And then, number two, how they're treating them, right? Unfortunately, caregivers are typically not treated fantastically in the workspace in this industry. So we are very passionate about creating an unbelievable culture, a passion in our business that really makes the caregivers feel appreciated, because they're the backbone of our business. And the majority of the time, they're not doing this for the pay. They're doing it because they love helping people and being in the homes with those clients. So that's one huge thing that allows us to keep our caregivers working with us. They can work full time. They can work, 2 hours a week if they really so choose. We want to give them that opportunity. When it comes to finding clients, this is a relationship industry, right? I hate to say it, this is not a Google Ads world. This is really creating relationships in your community with what we call the referral sources, or tier one referral sources. So that could be a discharged nurse at a skilled nursing facility. That could be an orthopedic surgeon. That could be an occupational therapist or a physical therapist. Really getting out there and creating the relationships in the community is going to be the best way for you to really grow your business, and grow it with wonderful clients that you're going to be able to support for a long period of time. I mean, our Maryland group, they worked with one client for, I think, over a decade.
That's pretty impressive. And what's nice is this is very much a recurring revenue type model. Assuming you are doing all of the right things, there should not be a reason for that client of yours to change services. Again, if you're providing that superior care, your caregivers are showing up, and there's good relationships there, it should be an ongoing relationship similar to what you just mentioned.
Yeah. I mean, everybody has a little bit of a different need, right? Some people might need 12 hours a week of assistance when their loved ones are at work. Some people need 24/7, 365, and we're able to support people at just about any junction of their needs, which is really just a wonderful thing, to support a community and really, be a positive part of that community, to give something back and support the people that are living there.
Yeah, so this all hits very close to home for me recently. When we talk about in-home healthcare, we really focus mostly on the aging population because that is going to be your largest segment, right? But there are many other people that need in-home healthcare. And just real briefly, February 6th of this year, I had a life-changing medical emergency, and was in the hospital for 3 weeks. When I was released, I had a nurse that came once or twice a week to help with a certain need that I had. And then I also had physical therapy that came to help. So, it really, I mean, I could get emotional talking about it, but it really, um, I have such a much greater appreciation for these individuals. I mean, they are traveling around, and I asked, the caregiver, the nurse that was coming in once or twice a week for me, what her background was. And she used to work in a hospital setting, which was extremely stressful for her. She was working 12-hour days. And her reason for being an in-home healthcare nurse now was the flexibility that it provided and less stressful. And it actually allowed her to form relationships, which the hospital setting really did not allow for. So, so yeah, I can't say enough. We speak a lot about the aging population, but I had a need for it, and I know you could think of anybody that's had an accident and is recovering, or new mothers, what have you. There's many other population segments that are benefit from this type of care.
Oh, absolutely. We work with clients, for a week. We work with them for one shift. We work with them for 10 years. We're really there. And the real basis of Second Family is taking a really negative situation and helping be the positive part of that, right? Being the quarterback to that process. And like you were saying, we can help people at any age. This is not just seniors. Now, the seniors are going to be the majority of our clients. And just like I haven't had a personal instance with my own health, but I lost my parents very young, and growing up in a town of like 5,000 people, we didn't have senior care. So I had to be the caregiver for my mom and my dad. And let me tell you, it's very stressful. It's very emotionally draining. It's very physically draining. So having a company that you can truly trust in, believe in, know that they're going to do the best for your loved ones really takes a lot of weight off the shoulders of the family members, because a lot of times, like I said, they don't live close by. They live in California and their loved ones are in Florida, or New York down to Florida. We want to make sure that we can provide amazing care for people all over the country. And that's really why we're trying to turn Second Family into a national brand, seeing that we do have a lot of awesome availability when it comes to territory as well.
Yeah, you absolutely do. So, Will, you had mentioned technology earlier. As I understand, this is a very technology-based business. So, can you dive into what that technology is and how it really benefits a franchise owner that is looking at this as a potential investment?
Absolutely. Yeah. So there are two main technology platforms we're going to use in the day-to-day operations. The first is going to be our app. So we have a proprietary app that's used by the caregivers and the nurses, by the customers and their families, and by our referral sources. And it really just allows for unbelievable transparency and communication across the nurses to the caregivers to the loved ones. For example, those clients are going to be able to manage their entire schedule. They're going to manage all of their billing. They're going to see notes every single day, every time care is performed for their loved ones, which is something that I wish I had when I was getting care provided for my grandmother down in Florida, right? Hey, grandma had an awesome day today. Mom had a wonderful day today, or mom had a not so great day today, right? You string a couple of those together, and it's nice to know exactly what's going on, that you can get your butt down and visit your loved one. Number two is going to be our CRM. We use an unbelievable CRM called Access Care. We've customized it from bottom to top, right? So it really makes running your business, makes billing, makes payroll, makes everything unbelievably efficient and easy, because we know that there are better things for you to be spending your time doing. And that's getting out there, creating those relationships, meeting the clients, going to their homes and learning about the challenges that are going on so that you can truly step in and assist them moving forward. So our technology package is awesome. We do a deep dive into that through our awarding process. So, and anybody can go online and download the Second Family app and kind of take a peek and see what it is.
So, a Second Family has a plethora of services that it offers. I mean, we talk about the in-home healthcare and so forth, but can you just touch a little bit on the variety of services? Because it's almost a one-stop shop for almost any type of support that an individual might need.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, we provide non-medical home health care. So we do things like mobility assistance, bathing and hygiene. We help with dressing, meal prepping, light housekeeping. We do some errands and transportation. Really, we're just going to be there to be that support person while, your loved ones aren't there, or just to help you through the day to get your tasks done.
So, what would you say? I imagine this isn't always an easy business. I mean, no business is always easy, so I'll just lay that out there. But I definitely have learned that nursing and the medical industry, I mean, comes with its own challenges and so forth. What would you say if a prospect asked you what the most challenging aspects of this business are? What would you say to that?
Yeah, that can be kind of a two-prong answer, right? So most challenging when it comes to the business itself is this is not a McDonald's, right? You can't just click on those golden arches and people are going to flood the drive-through line. You truly have to get out there. You got to create the relationships. You have to really, beat the pavement, not just to find clients, but to create those relationships that are going to allow your business to flourish, not for just today, but for the next 10 years, which is really what we're seeing with the massive growth that our franchisees are having year after year. But number two, this is a business that pulls on the heartstrings a little bit, right? You're going to be going into some of these homes in some of the most challenging times of their lives while their matriarchs and the patriarchs of the families are struggling. And, as much as I hate to say it, you have to call in hospice at times when people are getting to the end of their life. But you just have to sit down and remember, you are giving that person a new lease on life by helping them stay in their home, which is ultimately what we've seen about 70% of seniors over the age of 65 wanting to be in their home, spending the last days, the last years, the last months in the place that they love. So, while it is an emotional journey at times, you have to remember that you're doing something fantastic. You're really being an awesome support person in the community and really helping people. That's
Yeah.
the game, right? That's the goal, is to make a good living while also really being a positive effect and positive in part of the community.
Yeah, I can imagine how rewarding this would be because you truly are making a difference in people's lives every single day. So let's talk about the payment aspects. How do the caregivers get paid? How does the franchise owners get paid? So what does that look like?
Yeah, traditionally everything goes through that app, which is really nice. Direct deposit for those caregivers. But whatever, the billing is going to change and be different depending on the reimbursement, right? We work with mostly about 80 to 90% of our reimbursement come from self-pay or private kind of, private long-term care insurance. But we do have access to be able to work with Medicaid, with Medicare, and we work very closely with the VA for all of our franchisees as well. The VA does take about a year to get credentialed with, but there's so many wonderful veterans out there that need the support, that need the assistance, that we really drive the success and drive the usage of the VA to be able to help people in that community as well. But yeah, everything goes through the app. If you're billing through a third-party payer, it's all going to go through the CRM. Very easy, very efficient, and very quick reimbursement.
And do you work with any traditional insurance companies like Aetna or
Traditionally, you can do something. Some people have, extra, long-term care insurance or things of that
Mhm.
nature. But traditionally, you're not billing the standard kind of insurance companies, which, truth be told, coming from a decade of a chiropractor that was billing insurance every week, that is a pain. That is no fun. You don't cross a T right or dot an I correctly, denied. So this is kind of an easier way of billing through more traditional federal channels or through self-pay, which has been the majority of the reimbursement for our franchisees.
Which is nice because that does speak to the expediency of the payment, right? Um, okay, so you've already touched on this is an owner operator model. This is not a model for somebody that's looking for a semi-passive investment. After 1, 2, or 3 years, do you allow the owner to become more semi-passive, or is it you're shaking your head? Yes. Okay.
Absolutely. Now, we know the gravity that it holds when an owner of a business comes in and sits down on a client's couch or chair and says, what's bringing me here? What are the challenges your loved ones are faced with so that I can really help you kind of get over this challenge and really be the second family to your family, right? But the truth is, once this business is really ramped up, really scaled, it's kind of on what I call autopilot, you can bring in a biz dev person, introduce them to the referral sources, start creating relationships, because no matter what, they're going to know behind the scenes that you're making sure that that level of quality care is still staying nice and high, even if they're working with Will instead of the owner. So there is definitely a semi-absentee process a couple years down the road once you're really when you've grown that business into a great way. And our franchisors are able to support you and kind of teach you how to transition into that, as their corporate headquarters in Maryland is now fully semi-absentee because their sole purpose is to support our franchisees in business. It's pretty awesome.
Awesome. So, what does your ideal candidate look like? What type of background do they come from? What type of attributes do they have?
Yeah. So we love a client or a franchisee with some sales background, right? That's always easy transition when you're moving into a business development role. But really, we just want the achiever, right? The person that's not afraid to get out there, do those networking events, create some relationships. Chad, one of our co-founders who did the majority of the biz dev for our corporate headquarters, he tells me all the time, some of his best friends to this day are people he met while he was out networking for Second Family. So, you're going to get out there, create those relationships, and it's really important to have somebody with a background that at least gives them the comfort of getting out there and creating relationships. Now, what I will say is, if you have an RN possibly in the ownership group, that's also helpful as well, because you can be the director of nursing. You can start that kind of assessment and be that care coordinator for the first handful of clients, just to make sure things get off to the races nice and efficiently. But by no means do you need to have any medical background. The majority of our franchisees come from everywhere other than the medical world. So they're really growing in a great way.
And what type of assistance does Second Family provide as far as recruiting that RN from the onset, and then also caregivers?
The truth is that RN is going to be the easiest hire. And you talked to it a little bit earlier, they really don't get to create relationships in the hospital setting. They're 12 hours on their feet. The role of the RN in our business is very, very flexible. So if you're somebody with young kids and you want to drop them off and pick them up from school every day, you're going to be able to, which is really awesome.
Nice.
You're going to be able to manage your schedule completely. We need you on call. We need you ready to take some phone calls if something is needed. But the truth of the matter is, it's a very, very flexible role. And we're seeing more and more people trying to step out of that RN in a hospital, 12-hour shifts, and more into something of this nature. When it comes to finding the caregivers, we've got unbelievable AI technology that's going to allow for us to really find those caregivers. We also work with overseas employees. So we work with a company called DCX that helps bring Filipino employees to work for us behind the scenes. So they're going to do a lot of the recruiting and the HR, and they're going to do all the scheduling behind the scenes. That way that our franchisees can worry about that business development role, really creating those relationships. But with that being said, we've got a launch guide, which we call really our proprietary launch guide. So when franchisees become a part of our system, it's going to give them week by week plans for the entire first year on who and where and how to utilize their funds, their time, their marketing spend to really grow this business into something fantastic.
I love everything you just said. I mean, it really talks to the value of the franchise system, right? Okay, so let's talk numbers because this is a fairly reasonable investment level. Total investment for a single location is between 112,000 and 198,000, essentially. Um, as far as an item 19 in potential ROI, what can you share with us there?
We did just drop our brand new FDD, so it's going live in majority of the states, except for those pesky refiling states or registration states. But really, we're seeing all of our franchisees somewhere north of 20% in profitability, right? We've got franchisees that are doing over 2 million, over 1 million in gross revenue that are really bringing a great, it's hard to talk numbers, but bring great net down to the bottom line to help them grow. We've had franchise locations, we have 5 that are open right now, credentialed, that are working. And I'd say 2 of the 5 increased at over a 100% growth between 2023 and 2024 when it came to their gross revenue. So we're seeing unbelievable strides, unbelievable growth. Our item 19 shows full P&L for all of our open locations. It's also going to show the monthly revenue, the monthly caregiver visits, the monthly billable hours. So we are very transparent when it comes to our financials and our growth. And in my opinion, I tell everybody, if the numbers don't make sense, the business don't make sense. So we try and make sure we give everybody everything as possible, so they can make a truly educated decision on if this brand is right for them.
I love it. All right. So, just on a last note, just to kind of put this into perspective, when you talk about the 1 million in revenue, 2 million in revenue, how many clients does that really break down to on average? If you have an idea, if you don't, that's fine. But
No. So in our FDD, we show you exactly how many clients each of those franchisees are working with, and we also have the gross revenue that they're acquiring from that number of clients. So, for example, our franchisee that's got 3 territories now. They started off as our first franchisee ever. They've now added on 2 more adjoining territories. In our new FDD, they did 2.9 million in gross revenue, and I believe on average they were working with somewhere between 25 and 35 clients at a time. So
oh my
you don't
gosh.
need 150 clients to get to a really great role. I will say they've got a little bit of a higher hourly need than the majority of our other franchisees, but yeah, you can get yourself a very, very successful business with 30, 40, 50 clients.
I love that. And again, a couple of the really attractive attributes is the recurring revenue aspect of this business and your customer base. I mean, there is always going to be a need. There is probably no other business that is going to be as recession resistant as this because the population is always going to continue to age and have needs. So, well, Will, thank you so much for joining me today. Any last words from you that you want to share?
No, I just appreciate you having me on. I'm really passionate about this business. And I think a lot of the people that come in as franchisees, we haven't had a candidate come to Discovery Day that did not move forward with becoming a franchisee at Second Family. So we've really had a wonderful group of new franchisees, but something that Repham Group is very, very passionate about, and that is responsible growth, right? And that's something we're passionate about as well, right? We're not trying to fit a square peg into a circular hole. We want the right franchisee to come in and really give us an opportunity to help teach them to scale their business and grow this into something fantastic. So it's been wonderful Q1. We're really looking forward to growing and expanding through the rest of the year.
I'm excited to continue to watch that growth and hopefully bring some clients your way here in the near future. All right. For anybody that is interested in learning more about Second Family, please feel free to reach out to me at Stacie@fusionfranchising.com. Thanks and have a great day.
Thanks for listening. Subscribe for more on the franchise life.